everybody, coming at you from out in the wilderness. Now, today's video is going to be about camouflage, the hows and whys. Why do we do it? How do we do it? Shape, contour, color, texture, everything. And, you know, and being stealthy and being hidden. And why would you want to be hidden? There's various reasons for it. We're going to explore all this, and I have a lot of camo. I have a ton of camo. I have as much camo as Amazon has delivery vans. So anyway, I have picked out a few select different outfits of camo. Some civilian. I got some new, some old for civilian. I got military, old and new, and we're going to go through that. And then I've got some out-of-the-box ways of thinking about camouflage and staying hidden, and improvements and additions. We're going to go over all that, and I'm going to share my thoughts as we're going along. Now, I'm filming this video by myself because, well, for one thing, my brother and Nick are both busy, and for the other thing is I want to set the views up to where I can look and decide for myself where I want to hide and try to conceal the type of camo that I have that I'm wearing. And today's a good day, but it's very, very windy, and I'm already freezing. And I'm wearing my tree bark camo, and it's very, very cold. And occasionally, the wind's getting up to about 20 miles an hour. So occasionally, I'm going to have the cordless microphone on, so the sound may be different from scene to scene. So be leery of the sound as we go along. But this will be a good experiment too for going from the camera mic to the cordless mic to see if the volume stays the same. Alright, so let's get started with this, and let's start talking about camo and looking at how camo works in being hidden. Okay? Alright. Now, how hidden did I look between those two trees? Was I hidden? Was my hands exposed? Was my face exposed? How did the camo look against the tree? Let's put on a jacket with a hood and see if the hood covers things up a little bit better. Now, if you'll notice, a lot of times camo, when the top and the bottom matches, it makes a big difference. But sometimes when it doesn't match, it makes a variety of differences. And the original tree bark I'm wearing is sort of a gray-brown look, but this jacket with a hood has got a green tint to it. So sometimes that breakup helps. I don't know if it helped then or not. But the jacket covered up my neck, and it covered up my head a little bit better, but my face was still exposed. That's where a bug net can come into play. But it's got to be a light colored bug net. So let's see how that works. Alright, so how does that look? My face and my hands stood out like Mark Hamill at a Star Trek convention. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the hands up with a pair of gloves and see if that makes a difference. And then I'm going to cover my face up with just a common bug net. Now, the bug net from a distance should blur the features of my face. The camo is the old tiger stripe from the Vietnam era. And my father-in-law told me where this came from is all the uniforms used to be olive drab, and before they had woodland camo, they would take black spray paint and paint lines across the uniform, and that's how this got developed. So let's see if this makes any difference. Now, did that somewhat make a difference from a distance? It could be. Now, you have to watch these scenes with the thought in mind that your average person walking down the trail is not actively seeking a person, that they have to be looking. That more than likely, if you're not looking for a person, they stand a better chance of just blending in with the background. Now, these gloves are a very, very thin mesh. They're for warm weather. This is very, very thin. Wind cuts right through it, so it's great for warm weather. But it also blurs things and distorts things from a distance. So let's move on to the next camo. Now, there's different camos and there's different colors, and it blends in with whether it's fall, winter, or summer. Now, during the fall like this, depending on where you're at, there could be evergreens or everything could be brown. And so the military was on the search for a camo that would work anywhere. So hence OCP, Operational Camo Pattern, or what's known as Scorpion, or what is known by us commoners as multicam. Now, this is the current issue. I'm pretty sure the Army and the Marines use this, and the Air Force might have switched to this. I'm thinking right now that the Navy is the only ones that don't have this uniform. But this is the current multicam uniform. Now, how can we improve on this? All right, my face is showing, my neck, my hands. Everything else is covered. All right. You also have a distinct line going down the middle that could be part of the shape and texture. Now, they say that camo is for humans. That they claim that animals can't see colors, that they can see shapes. So I don't know. I'm not an animal. I can't tell. Although I've been known to act like an animal at the Golden Corral buffet. So, how are we going to make this better? Let's see if we can make this better. I have some multicam mechanics gloves. Now they're brown on the inside, but they're multicam on the outside. I have a neck gaiter, which are several different ways of using it. And then I have a hooded anorak, which has no button line. And it's also got a hood that can cover up my head if I don't have some kind of a hat. Now I want to show you a couple of things about this neck gaiter. They claim there's about 10 different ways of using it, but I only use it 3 ways. You can either put it around your neck, it can keep you warm, or you can pull it up to your nose, and that's what I do with a hood. Or, if I can remember how to do this right, I think what you do is you turn it inside out like this, and then you put it on your head. Okay, you put it on your head inside out, and then you give it a twist like that. See if I can grab it. You give it a twist, and then you pull it like this. And see, it's like it becomes a hat. Now see, if you got 2 of them, you can turn one into a hat like this, double layer, and then you can have the other pulled up to your nose. So I'm going to switch this out. We're going to go to the hood, and we're going to see if I can get any more out of this multicam, okay? Now, may I remind you, look at this with the impression in your mind that you're not actively looking for a person. If you have to, rewind it a little bit and just glance over the scene and see if anything jumps out. If anything would jump out, it would be this area right here. All right. Now, there's something you can do about that too. Is they make head nets, bug nets that are actually camouflage, and I'm fixing to show you here in a little while one that's homemade and cheap. So let's move on to the next one. So what I'm wearing now is the original Marine pattern, and it used to be woodland camo was shared amongst several forces, but then the Marines came out with their own digital woodland camo, or what is also known as MARPAT, Marine pattern. Now I think currently the Navy is using a version of this, I think, with different colors. It's a digitized uniform. But now, as you can see with this, and when it gets old and faded out, it's even more effective. Now, as you can see with this, my hands were exposed and my head was exposed. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to cover up. This is a Realtree, I think it's Realtree, yeah, it's a Realtree camo bug net. And so you can see through it and it's all camo. And if you wanted to, it's got a place for your eyes in the front, but I like to put it on backwards. Now for my hands, I don't have any Marpac gloves, so I just use good old Nomex Slite gloves because they're olive drab, and chances of green blending in with the background over skin color is much greater. So let's see how effective this is. Figures I had to put the camera right in front of a bunch of thorns. But anyway, that's that. Like I said, if you have to, you have to look at it as a mindset. If you're walking down the trail, are you actively looking for somebody? If you're not, chances of them blending in if they just sit still is a good thing. And sometimes movement, when it comes to animals, I don't know about humans, but when it comes to animals, movement is more important than color. Texture and shape can matter. And I'm going to go over that in just a minute with hats, something that I have discovered. A hat is a hat is a hat, correct? That's what got me to thinking. Now, the grunts and jarheads call this a cover, right? Civilians call it a hat. Now, this is a typical old military hat, but it's been modified with these loops for 2 flashlights. People that have watched my videos in the past have seen me use this hat. But another thing you can do is you can put branches in here sticking out all different ways and kind of disguise things. Now, one of the things, if you're trying to be stealthy and hide from people, not necessarily a form of like trespassing, but like just, there's crazy people out in the woods and on the trail, and sometimes you want to hide from them. So, the one thing that's distinctive on hats is always the bill. They have a bill in the front, all right? And it doesn't matter, even if it's like a winter version of it. You know, this is quilted woodland camo with ear flaps you can pull down. It still has this distinctive bill that comes out. Now, if you covered that with a bug net, it would hold the bug net away from your face, which is a good thing. Now, another thing that is distinctive is the common old-fashioned hat like this that has a full brim going all the way around. It doesn't matter if it's a jungle hat or a smaller version like a safari style, it still has that distinctive human version. All right, and then we have yet another antique offering that'll keep your head warm. There's ways this maybe could pass by as a little bit more camo as long as texture because it's such an unusual shape. Now, then of course, as you're talking about these things, you could have a very, very, very thin hat to match your camouflage for, like, say if it's getting warm weather, you can have that and it just completely covers your head round. And if the camo blends into the background, then you don't have anything real weird as far as shape here throwing you off. And of course the other thing is you can buy one of these that has lights in it. You click a button on here somewhere and it cuts the lights on. Now this got me to thinking, what if you took a piece and sewed it oblong? What would happen if you put this thing on? Now this looks stupid, okay? Say I'm like the Shaggy DA. But the thing is you could put padding in here and make this thing stick out this way. You can make it stick out this way. Just let it hang over. This is just let it all hang over this way. See, it's just very, very unnatural. You wouldn't expect to see anything this weird on a human. You could turn it this way. You could take the whole thing and turn it like this as you're sitting still, and I can make out the silhouette of the camera. So if I was sitting at a tree, if there was movement going by, I would see it. So you could also lift it up this way and see there's extra fabric here. Hang it to the side. You can do anything you want to. You can even put gloves in it. But that's my little bit on those hats right there, okay? Now, let's move on to a couple of more things. Alright, so what do we have here now? Let me get this thing flipped around. We have a homemade bug net. Now I have a net gator. You might can see the double wall here. This is a tan net gator. I've got it turned around and twisted like I showed you a minute ago. Now this is a homemade bug net. Now this is interesting. I went to Walmart one time and I was like, I don't want to buy a bunch of expensive bug nets and just leave them laying around everywhere. I wanted like one for my kayak, one for Nick's kayak, one for my brother's kayak. You know, a bug net for warm weather fishing. So I found this stuff, and I think it's pronounced tulle. Can you see that? And what it is it's this mesh type material, and it's for like, this is in the sewing section of Walmart, and I'm sure you can buy it anywhere. And I was just looking for some sort of a black netting, and I found out this stuff comes in all different colors. And this is what they'll make out of, like they make like those costumes for plays, and like those I think those ballerinas, I think their skirts are made out of these things, and like stuff like that. But anyway, this stuff is very cheap. It's 100% nylon, comes in different colors. And what you can do, you can either buy green or you can buy like a gold. And if you can see, I don't know if you can see this or not from the wind blowing on it, but what I've done is I have dusted this thing, I have dusted over it with black and green. And you can put any color of spray paint you want to on this thing. And so, I mean, that's it. And there's enough here. This is 108 by 54. I mean, I made this one out of it, and then there's plenty more for 2 more. You can make 3 of them out of it. I think it was only like $5. So that's another good version right there. All right, let's move on to our next camo. I completely forgot to say what kind of camo this is, but the bottom, the top has kind of it's like a reed type material, like you'd find reeds around a lake or something, or a swamplands. But the bottom is called Max 4 HD, and it's got kind of a brown tint to it, and the top has got a little bit more of a green tint. It's True Timber DRT. All right, it's kind of like a waterfowl type camo for if you're duck hunting. That way you can hide from them. Now we're going to move on to the next one. Now the other thing, never discount desert camo. Just because you don't live in the desert, it doesn't mean desert camo isn't a viable option. Okay? There's 3 different kinds of desert camos that I'm aware of that the military used. There was the woodland desert camo that looked like woodland camo, and then the chocolate chip camo, and then the digital desert camo. Now, somebody that was in the Marines told me that the reason that they came up with the multicam uniform is because the Marines, there was certain tours they went on where they had 2 sets of uniforms. They had the digital desert camo uniforms, and then they also had the digital woodland camo uniforms. And I guess the troops, I think one was made for the desert and one was made for the mountains of Afghanistan, but they tried to come out with the multicam, I think, to take care of it all. So I have a complete desert woodland uniform. I have the chocolate chip top. I don't have the chocolate chip pants. And for the digital desert, this is the only one where I had the pullover hooded anorak. And as you can see, I had the net gator pulled up. Now you can do whatever you want to with this. You can pull it tight, around your head like this if you want to. I was just wearing it just in random, and then I've got the Nomex flight gloves. So anyway, that's another option. Now let's go grab, I think I got 2 or 3 more pairs of uniforms. And then we're going to go to some out-of-the-box thinking. And you're really going to like it. It's going to be cool. Now, if you can see what I'm wearing now, this is like, I think this is it, Mossy Oak. Might be Mossy Oak Breakup, but this is a brand new shirt. It's got a lot of green to it. Now, if you'll look at my pants, they are very, very old real tree that are faded and light brown from back in the 1980s or 90s with a brand new green shirt. Now, you might be like, well, that's dumb. Why would you want to mix camo? Well, sometimes people that have a good eye can see that if they're making out your silhouette, if you have full brand new bright green camo like this, they can make it out. But if you look at the trees behind me, a lot of the branches don't go all the way to the bottom. So if there's some green and yellow mixed in, they kind of start at a certain height. So your legs will emulate a tree trunk, and where the branches start, the green is. So I'm going to show you something else. Let's cover up the old head, and then I have one other thing that you can do. All right. We're going to pull this down. And this is going to go up to our nose. All right. Now here's the other thing. I have two gaiters. Now if you do what I was talking about turning this inside out and put it on your head, okay, you can lift up and give it a twist and then drop it back down, and it comes into like a hat. Okay, well that's fine and dandy. All right, you're going to look like this. But now, the contour and shape still looks like a head. All right, what if we did this? What if we just let this thing flop like this? See how the top's square? It's kind of unnatural looking. So let's give that a try and see how that looks. We're going to top it off with some Mossy Oak gloves. Now they should be green to match the shirt, but they're kind of a brown. But who knows? Maybe that'll help blend in the contrast of colors. And so you can do all kinds of crazy things with this. You can put it over like this and say make it lopsided, and it'll really blend in unusual. Now, like I said a minute ago, you have to look at this from the point of view of you're sitting at home watching this video and you're expecting me to be there. If you have to, rewind a little bit and just try to trick your mind into thinking to myself, am I looking for somebody? You know what I'm saying? If I was just walking down the trail, would that catch my eye? That's what you're trying to do. Now let's try one other trick. Don't forget the old trusty head wrap, the shemag or shemag. Some people call it a kifferoo. There's actually about 10 different names, but basically it's a head wrap. It's a giant scarf. It's a giant piece of material. And you can wrap up with it, and you can close it up while you're sitting there, and you can have just enough room to peep out. You can pull it down, but you wrap it around your head and around your neck. Isn't that cool? Perfect camo. Now, along with the out-of-the-box thinking, sometimes camouflage can be just as simple as can be. Like most people carry rain protection. Well, when it comes to these military ponchos, a poncho can be your camo. Just put it on and lay next to a tree or sit next to a tree or sit down and people won't see you. They have digital camo, digital woodland camo. They got the regular camo, there's digital desert, there's multicam. These ponchos, and then the older ponchos, civilian ponchos, have numerous different patterns. So these can't be discounted as good camo too. Also can't beat the poncho for fast deployment, wind protection, and rain protection. Another fast way of breaking up your lines and contours and colors is with just a giant bug net. A lot of people will carry these because they'll put them up under their tarp to keep the bugs out. And if you got it with you, just throw it over you and use it. And if you wanted to, I don't want to ruin mine, but you could spray paint black and brown splotches all over it to make it even more camo, because as far as I know, these are all green. Another thing about camo, if you've got a poncho rain protection, won't you have a poncho liner? See, now what would it hurt to do that? They have these things in woodland camo, digital desert, multicam, even the ugly ACU for if you're wanting to hide in a gravel pit. But why not just wrap up in one of these? You got it with you. Now the only problem with that is you can't see if your head's covered up. So how are we going to cure that? I have another neat trick to show you. You got a whoopee or a poncho liner, you're wanting to hide under it, but you want to see. How about you get some of the ugliest sheer material you can find. Find like a ugly green color like would be in your grandma's curtains and make you a square sack. And so you just cover yourself up with it, just like that. And the fact that it's a square sack, it's not going to be round and perfect, that it's going to have all these weird things hanging off. And you just take your poncho liner, you just wrap yourself up in it. Looks cool, don't it? If you had the right shrubbery, you could do this where it was green. But if it was the dead of winter, you would want probably a desert camo blanket and like a light tan colored hoodie. But like I said, you don't want to make this thing perfectly fitting. You just want to make it square. That way it's got all these goofy shapes. It's not a round contour. And when you do it, you can see through it. You can also use it as a bug net. All right? So, there was something else that was on my mind. I was thinking about this thing. Anyway, let's give this a try. Now the other cool thing, let's turn this around. The other cool thing about this setup is this bag in a pinch could be used for holding things that you need, like if you're gathering up nuts or berries. And then the other thing is the fact that it's a very fine mesh. You could use it as a tree filter for muddy water. Now this poncho, this is the digital camo poncho. If you was in an area where all the green was gone, you just turn it around and use the inside where it's brown. Isn't that neat? It's like dual purpose. So the next is a very out of the box trick. You're gonna love this. If you think you got a cool camo color or pattern on your bed, just bring your sheet with you. These things come in some incredible patterns. If you think they'll blend into your environment, then bring it along. Now I got to noticing something. Off in the distance, you could also clip this thing together like this. Off in the distance, I can see things moving through the sheet because it's so thin, which is very, very cool, because if you see somebody moving, if you want to sit and rest for a while, you just cover up with this. Now, one other thing that I thought about or I forgot to mention, I'm not sure if these come in different colors, but never discount the sniper veil. It's a huge piece of fabric like this, and you know, you could just cover up with this, and this thing will help disguise your head, you know, and yet you can still see everything around. And if you wanted to, you could put on like a boonie hat that would lift it out some to get rid of your natural body shape. But this thing helps too. And it's not going to work on top of red or orange clothing, but if you've got like earth tones, like a coyote or olive drab, this will help break up your shape a little. The temperature's starting to drop. It's supposed to hit like 28 Fahrenheit tonight, so I saved this for last. Well, last of the outfits. This is, I'm gonna have to show it to you. And then I've got brown gloves that have a brown tint to them instead of a regular tint. It has a place here where it snaps, and it has a hood. You don't have to have the hood if you have a toboggan. Now this weird thing right here, I think you can either pull it up to your nose or you can pull it down for your neck. My sister gave me this, so I'm not sure if this is meant to be like a neck warmer or to go over your mouth. But I'm going to take this jacket off. This is a very old jacket. Now these pants are Advantage. I don't know. Let's pull this down here. These are insulated pants. These are the thickest camouflage pants that I have. Let's let you look at them. They might be mossy oak Advantage, but they're double layer. This is Advantage Timber, and I can't read the name on it. Advantage Timber. I don't know who makes these, but they're double layer and they're very, very extremely comfortable. Now this jacket is that old jacket, very, very old jacket. Now I'm gonna take it off and show you something, and it's got a pocket here. Ease you down a little bit. It has a pocket on the sleeve, and then it has a big pocket here, a very, very large pocket. You can see it even comes out, and it's got a little pocket. And it's a real tree camo, and I think it's pretty old. It's lined. Now let me show you the cool thing about it. I'll show you the tag real quick. The tag says 10X American Tradition since 1934. It's made in the USA. This is that old. And I don't know, I guess the name of the company's 10X. Anybody ever heard of that? Comment in the comment section. Now the thing I like about this jacket is if I was to design a jacket, they did it just the way I would have done it. See this on the back? Look at that. It's got a giant pocket in the back. And to me, that immediately classifies this as a survival jacket because it's got this giant pocket. I wished I could, if it was hanging on a hanger, you could tell a little bit better, but it's even sewn right here where it'll lift up But I mean, that pocket is like, it's the length of from my wrist to my elbow. You could put in there, you could put in a tarp and maybe some plastic and mylar for super shelter. You could put a lot of stuff in this. So as far as I'm concerned, the hood zips off too. As far as I'm concerned, this could be considered as a survival type jacket. I know y'all saw, or if you've watched my older videos, you saw where I put a full survival kit in the lining of a jacket. Well, this one comes with a big pocket on the back. All right. So now I got one more thing that I'm going to show you, and some of my viewers might have seen it from in the past, but I'm going to show you the latest. Oh, and I forgot to include my Cabela's hat. It's a Gore-Tex hat. You can either wear it like a regular hat, or it's got this Thinsulate on the inside. Pull it down over your ears. I know this is Georgia. It doesn't get very cold, but every once in a while it does, and tonight it's supposed to get down to 28 Fahrenheit. Anyway, the last part of the puzzle is these things that I've been experimenting with, because now, if you're trying to hide from people, or you want to be left alone, or possibly, I would say, if you are hunting for, if you're maybe hunting for Bigfoot or cryptids, or if you're a photographer and you want to go out in the woods and sit quietly, you know, and photograph nature, or, you know, if you just want to be left alone. I had thought about the way they make those duck blinds and hunting blinds. They only offer them in a certain amount of camo, and they're pretty bulky. So I got to thinking about, why not make something small that you can carry with you? And you could either sit against a tree, and what it is, I call it camo panels. Now I'm not sure, I think this is about 3 feet by 4 feet. It's not real big. But the beauty of this is, this panel, it's got a lining in it, and then I have this webbing on here to where you can stick it on sticks, to where, like, say, if you've got a obnoxious green, or I mean an obnoxious orange or bright blue or red sleeping bag, instead of, or a bivy sack, that's the main thing, is if you got like a bright yellow bivy sack or orange or red, and you want to lay on the ground, and you don't want somebody to walk down the trail and go, what is that? And go over and look. Well, you take a panel like this, and you just stab 2 sticks in the ground, and you put this right behind your bivy. Now, as you can see, this is a particular type of camo pattern. This is True Timber Conceal. Now, if you look, this has got, I mean, it's got a certain color bark and a couple of leaves on it. If you will look, and I can't remember all of them, excuse me if I leave some out, but there's like real tree, mossy oak, true timber, and the British one that I didn't forget, Pencott. Yeah, Pencott. Yeah. And then there's a couple of others that aren't real popular, but each company, if you'll pull up like the mossy oak and the real tree and the true timber websites, they've got about 6 different camos. So you can just pick a camo for the environment you'll be in and make you a panel. This one didn't seem to blend in much with here, and I've been experimenting with them. Eventually I'll order enough camo, and what I'm going to do is, like this first one I made, I just stuffed it in a mesh bag. But in the future, as I make these things, I'm going to make them in the bag that the camo's made out of. And this is the latest one. Okay, so it's just rolled up. And there's going to be more experimenting with this in the future. And you can buy this material pretty much anywhere. See, this is more of a viable. It's just rolled up and put in. And this one may be bigger. I might have started making, yeah, this is a little bit bigger than the other one. And see, the way this is done is I put paracord loops on it. I took camouflage paracord. Now the way you sew this on is the 7 strands that's inside it, you pull them out so that you just got the tube. And that's how you sew these on. And see, that way I've noticed, I haven't got them in the bag. I would set this up, but we're getting low on time. But what you do with this is you can set this up, and you can either set this on sticks and you can lay behind it, or you can use that elastic bungee material and use cord locks and just stretch it up to a stick. But you can carry these with you, and you can lay behind them and whatever. Some of this stuff is in some of my previous videos. You could also wrap it around you. And just blend in. I may do this a couple of times with this color because this is a better color than that original one. Like as I'm wearing it. Let me compare. See the difference in the color? In a pinch, you could also use this as a blanket if you had to. So I think I'm gonna cover up with this one just a couple of times. We'll get a couple of shots before I let you go. We'll have a look. Now, like I said, I was going to demonstrate this thing. I set it up on sticks as a panel and try to lay behind it. And what you want to do is you mainly want to find where there's a log that's fallen. That way you put it directly behind the log. That way this unnatural color change is not as noticeable if it's directly behind the log. But I forgot to pack the bungees, so I'm not going to do that. Anyway. I hope you had fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Why do we do camo? I don't know. Maybe you're hunting for Bigfoot. Maybe you're a photographer. Maybe you're trespassing. I don't know. Either way, it's fun and it's cool looking. And it's kind of neat to be right off the trail and all your gear being camo and you being camo and people pretty much walking within 10 feet of you and never seeing you. It's like you can be a people observer. And people are crazy. So, I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed it. And we shall. See you in the next one.